So hey, we are going live again for another week. This week we have got Jess Pearson, or Jessica. You don't mind me calling you Jess or Jessica? How?
No, go ahead.
Anything. So we'll settle with Jessica then. So we've got Jessica Pearson of Shimnix Films and also the Maker series. We're going to be talking about those two particular businesses and projects, and just having a chat to a Prince's Trust business that has basically done some really, really awesome things here locally in North Devon over the past few years. So I'm going to set up the little chat box here. If you have got a question to ask, feel free to just drop it in the comment section below, and we'll open up the discussion. But before then, let's have a quick introduction from yourself, Jess. Who are you? And let's go right back to the very start. What was Shimnix?
Right. Okay. So hi. Yeah, I'm Jess Pearson, or Jessica Pearson. So I've been ill from the age of 15. And that means that a lot of jobs I can't do. And I've found over the years that doing 9-to-5 jobs doesn't really suit me. So through a summer of being on the dole and surfing a lot and applying for lots of jobs, I kind of worked out that I wanted to start a film business. And I started with filming musicians, which was fantastic, but didn't make much money because musicians half the time don't have much money. But not that money really is the main force of why I do things. So yes, as you can see, this is quite an old website now. I'm just developing a new one. I kind of say that as
the never-ending job.
I quite enjoy it actually. So Shimnix, the name comes from a night in hospital, coming up with this idea of a child book kind of story of where ideas and thoughts come from, and Shimnix are these characters. So if you're listening to me, you probably realise by now that I don't really do corporate work. I don't attract corporate work. I'm a bit too obscure for that, I think. So I mainly, how I set Shimnix up was I became a sole trader. I've never made that into a company. I'll come on to that later because Maker Series is a company. But when I started, I knew that I didn't know a lot. My parents are self-employed, so I knew a bit from them, but I knew I had many gaps in my knowledge. So I went out to seek those bits of knowledge. And so I found the Prince's Trust, and that was amazing. I went on the week-long enterprise course, and I managed to I never went for the loan. I prefer grant. But I did get a mentor, and that was fantastic. He was local, and he still talks to me, even though I'm not really in so much with the Prince's Trust anymore. He still helps me if I can email him, call him, and that must be 4 years later. Prince's Trust was amazing. I always recommend the Prince's Trust for any young person getting into business, because suddenly there was this big network and met a lot of amazing people, and they do really support creative people as well, and I think that's quite unusual. I went on amazing courses, some that went completely over my head and others that really went in and stayed in. I'm still very much learning. I will never stop learning. So yeah, I basically just film what I want to film, which means I'm never really rich. But I knew from the start that I didn't want to kind of I didn't want to only make money. If you're going to make a business, you need to make it how you like it. Because what's the point of working so hard to make a business that you don't like doing? So I've always had some part-time work going alongside, just to keep that steady. That just helps my mental well-being. And I've changed. I do all sorts. I'm jack of all trades. You kind of have to be anywhere rural and coastal, I think, whether it's seasonal jobs or whether it's just picking up a few bits from a friend or actually going in. I worked in outdoor education, I've worked in office, I've worked in the alcohol rehab, and I'm just about to start working in a wedding venue. So yeah, I keep it different and fresh. I don't get bored. So yeah, it's good fun.
Yeah, I'm actually going to jump forward to one of the questions that I had towards the end. So I wrote a little, well, spoilers. I wrote a question down for later to say, video production, especially activities that are focusing on, community projects, local oral history, is an absolute graft. Like, it is not an easy business to be in, especially in North Devon. And what helped you through the hard times? Because you said you kind of relied on, other sources of income, which I put my hand up and said I was in exactly the same position a year into starting my own business. What helped you get through those times and, through, when you were setting up Shimnix, basically?
I think I will never not have some other part-time work, because I think I never want to put too much pressure on my passion. But what helps me through, well, with work-wise, even though I've got a website, the main thing that helps me is word of mouth and a reputation, especially somewhere in rural, coastal, it's who you know. So once you get into the school network, then schools start to get hold of you. If you get into the museum network, the museums start to get hold of you. Youth work is really good because they have a lot of connections. Yeah, basically that. And once you're on their books, because they don't want to do all the hard work of finding someone else, quite often you become a default in their head and they just give you all the work. So that's definitely been previous. I got into a lot of different event filming, but to be honest, that was too stressful for me. That doesn't suit my personality. I'm too much of a control freak. So, including weddings, I find that, too many variables for my liking. I like to go into artist studios where I can set a bit of lighting up and they're just in one place. And even though they can be quite spontaneous as well. But yeah, Does that answer your question? I can go on further if you like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another thing that I was going to ask is, and I certainly saw this, when I was following the work that you're doing with Shimnix. But personally, I haven't looked too much into your new project, and I'll probably keep that for you to explain a bit later. But cool. It seems like with your work with Shimnix, you met some absolutely amazing people, like through your work. Like you were interviewing, people, like I guess, specifically like young women that had gone and done amazing things in the world. And I was just kind of going to ask you, what are your most inspirational stories? Like who? What interviews have you done where you've really kind of stepped back and thought like, wow, that's absolutely incredible?
Yeah, definitely. And it's worth saying that all that kind of came through. I self-funded all of that. So I got ill 2 years ago again. I had a relapse. But before that, I was filming Women Adventurers. And that came through meeting up with a woman who does She Extreme, which is a film festival in Bristol based around women filmmakers who make films about women in extreme sport or adventurers. And yeah, I went and filmed some amazing people. This is She Extreme. That's Ruth on the left, black hair. And she's the founder. She's amazing. And what I found, though, is that everyone that I spoke to was either a friend or a friend. It's amazing how well connected you can be without realizing it. If you just start telling your story and asking, people know all sorts. So most inspirational, well, all the women were amazing. And actually, they're all very ordinary in this as well. You could be sat next to them in a bus. And that's how I kind of like to film them as well. With a cup of tea in their living room. So yeah, I'm just trying to think. So I've met Molly Hughes, who was the youngest woman to go up both sides of Everest, and I helped edit a film actually of that journey. Myrtle Simpson jumps to mind. The BBC has documented her quite a lot. She's in her 80s now. She's still competitive skis. Her husband was an Antarctic explorer, or Arctic explorer, and she would take her whole family into the Amazon and hang out with tribes for months, and we got on really well. And I wanted to film her again, but I got ill, so she just sent me an email saying, as soon as you're well, get your walking boots out and we'll go on an adventure. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to that. She wild swims a lot. Anya Lakata is amazing. She's based in London, but she's Polish, and she was always taught that she must get married, early 20s, have a baby, and that's her basically life, which is absolutely fine for a lot of people, but she didn't want that. So she moved to England, was quite high up in the banking world, gave all of that up and went and did the 7 summits, which is the 7 highest mountains in the world. And since then, she's become a life coach. She's quite amazing. And she was holding down a full-time banking job whilst training to go up Everest. Yeah, it's just, but they're all so down to earth. Her book, Why the Hell Not? It's a good book. It just shows you that she's just human, she's just very ordinary. And I realised through filming these extraordinary women that actually they were very ordinary and they were just making choices, and their body was allowing them to do this thing as well, because I find that I wouldn't be able to do that. My body doesn't allow that, but that's okay, because there's all sorts of different types of adventure. You don't have to just go up Everest. There's all sorts. So a lot of it is going outside of your comfort zone, going on little mini adventures to work or whatever. You don't have to go up Everest or go around the world. That's what I was learning from talking to these women. I can carry on talking. I don't know how long we've got. So
well, that's a nice segue into the next project that you, or I guess your current most visible project, which is the Maker series. And I believe you actually received some nice BBC airtime regarding this project quite recently.
Yeah.
If you could please explain, that would be great.
So the Maker series, I'll quickly explain about the Maker series. Sorry if I'm talking too fast.
Go for it.
I have it. The Maker series was born out of me. At the end of filming a lot of musicians, I wanted to move on to filming artists. And I filmed with a friend. She made Golden Bear belts. She made leather belts. And suddenly I realised I really liked filming artists and makers. And we developed this project together, which there would have been 13 films in total, 5 makers, 4 movers, so people who move. We've not gone on to them yet within the project. So, and then 4 shapers, who are people who shape North Devon through their personality or through their social work. So after she kind of left the project, she went off and bought a quarry down in Cornwall and started developing that, as you do. I kind of took it on a bit more, and instead of just doing 13, I'm doing 13 of each. So 13 makers, so artists, people who make a living through what they make, movers, people who make a living through their movement, and then shapers, people who either, like I said, shape North Devon or make a living through the way they shape North Devon, through social work, that kind of thing. As you can see, I like working with guest photographers. Georgione is a fantastic photographer. And actually just by watching her, I've taken on more of the photography now. But I also like to get friends involved, so they might come with me. If they want to learn a bit, they come with me and they assist on shoots. But I do pretty much everything you see. It's all self-funded at the moment. I go for a few grants, but I'm still trying to work out how to make money from it. I'm thinking of setting up Patreon, so people can actually donate some money. So I did make it into a company, but limited by guarantee. And then this year I made it into a CIC, which is a community interest company. So that means all the profits go back into the company. I did that for a number of reasons. One reason is that you can actually go for more grants. And another reason is that it's a community project. So it kind of is nice to have that recognition, even though a lot of people don't know what community interest companies are. And somehow I navigated my way around doing all of that. Half the time I think I'm not clever enough or brave enough to set stuff up, but actually I've done a course through the School of Social Entrepreneurs, and they're fantastic. If you do social work and your business is social, they are an amazing source. They do long courses, they do short courses, they do grants, and I became a fellow this year through going on a course. And then as soon as you're a fellow, you've got a whole world of network and people and knowledge. So that's super amazing, and they really helped me set everything up. Them and the Prince's Trust, I can't really say enough how good they are, really. They've definitely helped me vastly. So at the moment, obviously I've had to stop filming makers. I was just about to film my 8th maker. So I started to reach out to makers around the UK and a couple in France, because I have friends out there who are makers, and made this Makers in Isolation. And then Hester Berry is an artist who's a good friend, and because Spotlight, or Jen Smith, who's on Spotlight, saw her Makers in Isolation film, they did a feature on her, so that was really cool. And basically the main aim of it is to promote makers, movers and shapers in Northern Devon at the moment. So that's Torridge and North Devon. At the moment it's there. It might progress just to rural coastal areas, and then also demystify creative self-employment, because, well, they don't teach that in schools. I think it's too difficult to teach. There's no set routine of how to get into that. A lot of it's very particular to yourself and the lifestyle you want. But there's definitely tips, and I do a lot of interviewing. But I'm just about to start a podcast actually myself, interviewing, so I can kind of engage more people in wanting to share how they make it work, and how they make a living through their passion, because I think that's really important, especially through living through illness. You kind of realize what's important, and that is doing something you love doing for most of the time. Yeah, sure, of course it's going to be stressful and difficult, but as long as you've got that determination, hunger, and you keep enough of the passion, it's, oh my goodness, it's so worth it. Yeah, it brings an amazing lifestyle.
And you were talking about, I guess, like it seems like maybe one day, teaching exactly all the stuff that you, well, I guess, what you were talking about with the podcast and possibly your links with schools already, educating people about all of this, like, because it's so hard to teach, I guess, like, entrepreneurship just in general, let alone social entrepreneurship. I guess, like, certainly in a place like North Devon as well, where you have probably got a disproportionate amount of creative businesses established. No, it seems, there's definitely scope there, no doubt. I was just like going to go and throw out the question there. So you've got makers, you've got your work with Shimnix. Is there anything else that you're currently working on? Is there any, you say you're a jack of all trades. What's the next skill you're going to add to your your deck, basically?
I'm writing a book at the moment. It's inspired by the Maker series, so it will be kind of promoting, but through a bit of a road trip. So we're just putting the sample pages together. COVID kind of stopped that. You don't want to like try and launch or go to publishers about a guidebook when COVID hit. So I'm probably early next year going to approach publishers. If that doesn't work, if publishers don't pick it up, then we've got a few other ideas, crowdfunding, and also we will be involving businesses. So there could be some soft advertisement within it, and it become a bit more like a posh magazine. But also, like, obviously I've been ill most of my life, so I'm keen to not want to patronize anyone, but also kind of share my experience. And I'm looking towards kind of books aimed at teenagers, because I got ill when I was a teenager, and I actually know quite a lot of people who've had different difficulties during teenage years. Now they're late 20s, 30s. They're not properly come out the other end, but they've adapted to cope and actually do really well. So I think I'm looking at doing that. Me and my partner my partner's an artist, and we were just about to put an Arts Council bid in for a project to do with heritage craft and teaching heritage craft to fine artists and seeing how they develop and evolve in dangerous arts. If you go to, no one's heard of this, the Red List, a heritage craft association. I can hear Kyle tapping in, so you're about to see. There's a thing called the Red List, and there's a lot of crafts that are endangered, and I kind of want to open up this discussion about is there any point of keeping these crafts going, because we have technology, but if they're not needed, then could we develop them into new and interesting ways? So we were just about to that's been kind of put on hold because of COVID. But yeah, I've always got something else going on. I still really, really do want to still tap back into adventure. I still, through She Extreme, so there's She Extreme Alliance, which is amazing. It's just a membership, and then you get to do Zoom calls with really quite major female adventure filmmakers around the world who've won loads of awards and are very prestigious. And you can ask them questions after an hour-long interview with them through the host, Ruth. And they're really cool. So every time I see one of those masterclasses, I'm like, man, I really need to get back into the adventure. So I kind of changed. So I was doing this thing called The Space Outside, and that was linked to the Women Adventurers. It was going to be a 4-part series. The first one and the second one were done, and the third one was just about to be started when I had my relapse in 2018. And but what I did create instead was the Space Outside Creative Network, which, because I'm doing almost too much some of the time, it does ebb and flow on whether it's whether I'm doing it or not. So I'm just asking lots of people that I know what the Space Outside means to them. So it ranges from art, photography, to, that's it, I think, to poems, to philosophies, to, all sorts. And they can answer however they like. So you could literally just say a one-word thing in the middle of the page, but I've got a few more things to put up there now, so I'm going to do that. I think sometimes I perhaps spread myself a bit too thin, but I also think that when you spend quite a good amount of your time a bit ill or quite ill, then when you feel good, you want to get on with stuff and make the most of it. And often people say, why are you doing so much? And I'm like, well, I never know when I'm going to be ill again, so let's go on with it. We need to go faster.
I can totally agree with that. So I guess we're coming up to 25 minutes, so we should probably begin to wrap this up. One thing that's probably, like, if you're a business in North Devon, I'm pretty sure other local councils or district councils even have this offered. But so on Monday, last week, I received information that my business had been accepted for a discretionary grant. So it's well worth, if you are in a shared office space, I believe is one of the criteria for this particular grant. But if you are a business that fulfills the criteria that's laid out for a coronavirus discretionary grant, they are well worth applying for, especially if you're, a young Prince's Trust business. I would definitely recommend having a look at your local district council's website and having a look at these and seeing if you are eligible, because I was not expecting to receive any information on this so fast. So it's been a good week for Firethought. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I know on the creative side as well. So I know the BBC currently have a kind of audio history project, or are giving grants to those that are producing some kind of oral history documentation. And I know that it's well worth checking out the website of your local national park if you're a creative business, because they often post tenders to creative commissions through there, and they can often be quite significant. Apart from that, I don't really know what else to say today, apart from, I hope that you're keeping safe, Jess, and...
mostly, yeah. I think also a couple of people that I've spoken to who could get the self-employed help, the grant, haven't been doing it. So I've been like nagging there, what is it, SSEI or something like that. I presume did you go for that, Carl? Or is that's more for sole traders, isn't it? Not companies.
I don't know of the scheme that you're talking about, but I know that the one that I've referenced
the big one. The big one. Yeah. I still know people who aren't going for that and they're eligible. So I'm like, no, go for it. So yeah, it's important to go for these bits that are being handed out, because they don't happen that often.
And winter is coming as well. So make sure you're prepared. And summer, rainy days in the summer is perfect weather for grant funding application writing.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, grants are a lot better than the loans, for sure.
It's free money, Of course, that's going to be better. You don't have to give it back. But they are sometimes harder. I don't know. They can be harder to get, I think. But I don't know.
Well, it's been a pleasure catching up. It has been certainly some time since we talked. It's good that I'm kind of going through many of the people and the businesses that I met. Must have been like 3 or 4 years. I remember you used to do like a meetup at Table in Barnstable.
I tried.
Yeah, I mean it was interesting. It was fun.
You try these things, and then either it works or it doesn't, and it doesn't, you let it go, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Jess. Just for those of you who might have caught this at the very, very end, I would highly encourage you to watch it all. But I'd also encourage you to check out Jess's work. Behind us, we've got the Maker series, which is our latest project. And also, it's well worth checking out Shimnix as well, which is her video production company. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, and no doubt I will do another one of these, hopefully at the same time next week, and I'll post it up in the group. Anyway, see you soon. Talk soon, Jess, and take care.
And you. Bye.